now going to join this show already in progress.
Back to the PHL for a minute. Everything's quiet on the PHL front because there's no games to be played. But
Just mind games.
so this time of year we talk. Actually, we usually don't talk about much, but we did have a good chat the other week, whatever, about goalies and what they're worth and all that kind of stuff in the Discord chat. And of course, um, we're going to start looking towards next year. We already did the lottery. Captain won the lottery, and so now it's that time of year where it's time to look at maybe changing up some of the rules and looking at some of the options for how we want to move forward as a league. Now that we've got a new old commissioner in place. Um,
he's, he's been re-upped for indefinitely.
Re-upped for a year. We'll
But with
try
the
again.
interim tag, the interim, till he
Yeah,
finds a replacement.
that's right. I'm the interim commissioner. But yeah, I think it's fair to say last off season we didn't we forget it. I didn't do a good job of following up on this kind of stuff.
Maybe, but the reality is not a lot of people want to talk about fantasy hockey after that playoff game. People are typically done with it, but don't be too hard on yourself. But
well,
as the new guy, you can make some big changes.
yeah, sure. That's why I think it's a good idea to talk about it now while people are still into maybe a bit of hockey mode. We haven't been removed from the season for a little while, so we're still going to remember kind of what recently happened and all that kind of stuff. And um, we're going to bring up a few different rule change proposals that have come across, and hopefully in the next week or two, we start getting some messages. Message me, comment on the video, anything like that. Put a message in the league
Is
chat, all
there
that
an
kind of stuff.
official GM meeting date?
What we haven't done that yet. No,
Okay.
no. The answer to that is no. We should actually do that, but what I'm hoping to do is over the next week or two start hearing some more rule changes as opposed to the stuff we're just going to go through here that we've already got kind of on the books that have come to me from different ways and different channels and stuff. And what I'd really like to do, if we can make it work at all possible, is I just can't see how we would be able to do it in person as much as I'd
No, it
love
has to be
to.
a Zoom. There's no way we're doing it in person.
Right. So hopefully we could come together one evening and get the majority of the league to jump on the Zoom and like actually let's hammer some of these things out um, and make some changes for next year because there's definitely some that need to happen, I think. But let's go through what we have on the table and some ideas floating out there right now.
Next year, we need to get audio clips of these people arguing their thought.
Yeah,
That'd be
I
good.
would love that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Now,
Um,
before we get into these ones, I don't know if you put this one in there already.
mhm.
You floated the idea of moving platforms.
Yes, that's in there. We will,
That's in there. Okay.
yeah, we will get to that for sure. Absolutely. Um, let's start with a really simple one. This is, I think, has been brought up by more than one person, but essentially, the current makeup of our teams, we have, if I'm not one, two, three, four, yeah, we have five defenseman slots, and a simple proposal that could come into effect right away next year is to drop that down to four. So remove one defenseman slot on our roster, not replace it with anything, just move down to four defensemen.
Yeah, I think it deepens the pool of available defensemen.
Yep.
in the free agent market.
Yeah,
Because if you
absolutely.
lose a defenseman, it's incredibly difficult to replace.
Hmm.
I don't know if the stats back that up, but the discrepancy between like top tier defensemen and A tier, B tier, it's a significant drop off.
It
So
absolutely
that's
is.
just like a small way of kind of creating some depth and mitigating that.
And a very simple one to put into effect right away, and address that quickly for next year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
the next one would be drop the only two goalies per roster rule. So this has been something we've been doing for a few years as kind of like a gentleman's agreement, if you will, where
The
we've
gentleman.
nice. Um, we have two goalies on the roster. They stay in a starting position basically, and that's it.
Do you
Unless
remember
you,
why we instituted this rule?
yeah, absolutely. It was depth of goaltending options that um, we found there was just not enough depth, and we said every team hoarding a third goalie would put us in a position where essentially um, there just wasn't enough goalies to go around. As we've talked about here on the pod and has been talked about in some of our communication channels, is there's a lot more goalie tandems out there now. So there's a bit more depth in the goalie pool. And that's one of the reasons that this has been brought forward. Um, the other reason, frankly, is the whole thought of letting managers manage their team the way they want to manage their team, and having a little less restrictions on that. So essentially, what I'm saying here is like, if you want to have, I don't know, six goalies on your roster, you still can only start two a night. If you want to eat up your entire bench and take away,
Well, the
you
idea
know,
is like you could carry a third goalie. Like you said, you're going to have to make choices.
yes.
But then there's some strategy in that. It's like, okay, you're playing the matchups a bit more, and there's more goalie depth now because most teams are using a tandem,
Hmm.
so you can kind of squeak out a bit more points that way.
Hmm.
Because right now goalies just it's tricky.
Hmm.
Goalies are tricky because it seems on some nights it seems too punitive, or it seems too good almost. Um, so that would just kind of help even things out a little bit, I think.
Hmm.
Um, but that's just my opinion. So I'm for this one as someone who used to have three goalies regularly.
Hmm.
Although some years I had one goalie by the end of the season. So this year, one goalie probably would have been a solid strategy because you don't have this other goalie costing you goals, and
Right.
potentially you have another center where you can squeak in on the off nights.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, and the other advantage, and this would be admittedly an advantage for nobody other than me, is I don't have to go around checking the rosters every couple days, making sure somebody doesn't have a third goalie on their roster.
uh, you must hate me.
No,
I think
because
there's been a few times where I've been like, this person had a third goalie.
no, actually,
Investigate.
I don't hate that at all because that means that something that I could have missed doesn't get missed, right? So, um, next rule, Paul suggested a change to the goals against value. So essentially, when a goal gets scored on one of our goalies, it's minus zero point 0.8 points. Currently, he's saying just switch it to minus zero point 0.7 points. So basically, um, they don't get penalized as frequently, and then um, it's every right now it's every third shot, or I guess it would be every third shot instead of every second shot. Thing. No, I'm mixing
Hmm?
myself up there. Never mind that part. Basically, just change that so that the goalies aren't punished as heavily uh,
I
every time
yeah,
a goal gets scored against them, essentially.
I like that. It
Um,
evens things out a little bit.
I did a little bit of math on it. Okay.
Whoa.
So here you go. Here's
We need
our
a
top
math graphic. Math.
hockey math. Top 15 goalies in the league.
Okay.
Um, their goals. Here's all their goals against under this column B here.
Just focus on the point total, I think.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, when it all comes down, what you're looking at this is the goalie's previous or this would have been last year's fantasy point total. If I took the same numbers from last year with the proposed scoring, this would have been their new fantasy point total,
Yeah, some
right?
significant changes there.
Right.
There's not
Um,
as much of a drop off. You've got Sorokin going from 95 to 109,
mhm,
and Wedgwood. There's a 6 point difference between them under our current system. Move
mhm.
your mouse cursor, please. There's
Sorry.
only less than a point between them in the new system.
Yeah.
So it brings some of those other goalies up
And a guy
in a
like
nice way.
yeah, and a guy like
Can you sort those by the fantasy point total?
there it goes. Yeah.
Vasilevsky's still at the top.
Yeah, no matter how you turned it out.
Is it the same? Yeah, I guess it would be the same. No one jumped up over anyone. But you've got Vejmelka from 90 points to 170 points. That's a
Yeah,
huge bump.
that's the big thing, right? Because it's still the same
Hold
amount
on. How
of
is he behind?
goals of get. Regardless, you've got three goalies over 100 points as opposed to seven goalies over
Okay.
a
So
hundred
you're
points.
bringing up that depth.
Hmm. And that's kind of that's going to bring up the value of the goalie to hopefully get up to the level of some of the players um, that you would have to make that decision. Are you gonna, if you have that third goalie, are you gonna start that player or are you gonna start the goalie kind of thing? Anyways, that was Paul's
I like it, Paul.
suggestion there.
Good job.
Here we go. This one comes up frequently.
Who
Add
brings
another.
this up the most?
I would say Dave.
Oh, Dave.
I
Okay.
would say Dave. Yeah. And I would also say to not make it seem like I don't think I'm throwing him under the bus by saying that, but I would say I am definitely not opposed to this idea. More often than not, I say, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Like I would get on board with that kind of thing. But essentially, the idea here is simply to add an eighth keeper. Um, more of a long-term, an eye towards long-term building of your team in that scenario, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I'm a fan of it. I was
I,
gonna say I bring it up the most, but I could go like as 10. Like the more the merrier to me because you're building a team and it gives you more options for Peter's gonna love this. More trades,
mhm.
more low end trades.
More low-end
Um,
trades is what
you
it
know,
would do. Yeah.
but their argument against that has always been, but then the draft doesn't mean as much. And the
Uh,
draft, you still have to do well in the draft. But
yeah. Um, anyways, I would say that if we agreed that this was the way of the future, we wouldn't put it in place going into next season, but the
no,
season after that, so that because anyone that's made trades this season has made trades with the idea that there's seven keepers, right?
historically, we never did like a rule change over the summer and
Mhm.
then did it that year. We always waited that extra year with the thought people built their teams a
Right,
certain way. So this would give you time to build your team to the new way.
right.
So that makes sense
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah. This is the one that you hinted at, and I'm filing it under just an idea, but
A good idea.
I think
Don't sell yourself short. It's a great idea, one of the best ideas you've ever had.
move to Fantrax. Fantrax,
Tell us
while
about Fantrax.
so much like Yahoo and ESPN, it's another fantasy sports website, but this is only a fantasy sports website. It's not like Yahoo and ESPN where they're fantasy games are an offshoot of, well, ESPN is obviously a sports news corporation and content provider, but um, Yahoo being a news website and just happening to offer fantasy sports. Fantrax is only fantasy sports. They do have a paywall, whatever. It's not significant. I don't care if people want to pay for it or not. I would just pay for it for some of the customization that it has.
What's the cost?
I don't have it in front of me, but I'll pull it
Okay,
up right now.
yeah.
But essentially, behind their paywall, there are like a ton of customization options, like changing the playoffs so that maybe 1 week of the playoffs is only a 1 week round, but the semifinals and finals are a 2 week round kind of scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there is an actual consolidation bracket. So the idea that I believe Pete floated of having the bottom four teams play a consolidation bracket and the winner of that gets the first overall pick would be an option on the table.
Right.
There is more scoring category options. If we wanted to really get into it, there's kind of what they call a minor league slot. It's an IR style slot. So if you have a player that you like a lot that you think is going to be a good player in the NHL, but currently that player is going up and down between the NHL and the AHL team, or even if
Mm,
they're injured but they've been sent to the AHL for a rehab stint or something like that, you can
mm,
put that player on the AHL's IR style slot,
right.
and then you wouldn't have to release him basically.
I love that.
You can you can trade before the draft, which is something that you can't do in Yahoo, right? Like when the
You have to
trade,
do it manually.
right, that's how we've handled it um historically with Yahoo, but this you can do it. Once the season ends, trades are opened again, and you can make trades for those players and draft picks before the draft. So it's not manual for me to manage. And um, you can, I believe, do up to 5 years in the future of draft picks if you like. So it's
Wow.
not just the next year.
You could really mortgage your future.
You could. There is a player salaries function. So this is another thing that we could add to the league, which is um, there's a whole nother level of fantasy we could get into here. But basically, you would be able to have your team, and you would be able to have X amount of money every year, and you would be able to give salaries to your players. And there would be a base salary for a player that you just kind of pick up off the waiver wires or
Right.
whatever. But you basically have to manage your cap. And then there's also a function where you can give contracts. So, and there's an idea from Ty that digs into that a bit deeper. So I'll explain it more there. But essentially, you could, instead of doing a keepers thing where you choose your seven, eight, whatever amount of keepers each year, you could give contracts. And let's say every year you get, I don't know, a couple contracts that are worth 2 years. Just I'll I'll dive into it deeper more with the Ty's proposal, but you can hand out these contracts to players, and that's how you manage keepers. So if you have a guy that you give a 5 year contract to, he's going to be on your team for 5 years. You might extend him in the future, you might not, whatever. Um, but those contracts would take the place of just choosing seven keepers every year.
So you'd only get a set number of contracts.
It would all,
Like, say we start with 7, and then the next year you'd only get like a few.
yeah,
Because you can't just re up everybody every year. That defeats the
right,
purpose, right?
right, exactly.
Interesting.
It's a very cool thing, I think. But we'll dive into that a little deeper with Ty's proposal. But this website could facilitate that.
Wow.
Um,
They've thought of everything.
they really have. And in fact, they have a level of depth that you could have basically an NHL and an AHL roster, so your team's performance is it's really you're running a full NHL like franchise. So you have a farm team, fantasy AHL team, as well as a fantasy NHL team.
That's a lot.
I don't have any desire to do that, but that is possible. And here it is. It says you can trade future draft picks up to 10 years in the future if you
Wow.
like. So that I was wrong at 5. It's actually 10. So I guess it's not I say it's just an idea, but the idea would be more like the specifics. The proposal is changing from Yahoo to Fantrax.
Giving up all those sweet, sweet trophies and records we've won over the years.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless they have an option where you can kind of bring in your league history, which I highly doubt.
I don't believe so. I have not
They
come
haven't
across
thought of everything. Fan tracks.
that.
More like scam tracks. Actually
Um,
sounds like a lot of fun.
Fantrax does offer an app for your phone, which I know people
Yahoo
play
does too, though.
primarily off of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that is not something we would lose, though the online version is definitely superior. And to answer your question, $129 for
Oh, wow.
for a year.
That's expensive.
Honestly, to get some of these different options, I wouldn't even like whatever. Let's just do it. If you want to help pay, great. If you don't, I don't care. Like if we're gonna go that deep into like contracts and stuff like that, whatever. It also gives you the option to pull out a lot of stats in like a spreadsheet version, from what I understand. I haven't actually dug
Sorry,
into
did you say
that yet.
pull out? You broke
Stats
up there. Pull out. Okay, sorry. You broke
in
up there.
yeah, okay, in a yeah, in like an Excel or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Okay.
So anyways, that's something on my mind. The other thing that kind of bothers me, and I'm putting it as just an idea because I don't know what the exact solution is yet, but like the majority of the league is in our Discord, right? We also have the chat in Yahoo, but that's not really utilized as frequently.
You don't have a
Um,
platform where everybody is on and paying attention to.
right. And I frequently feel like Marcel is one of the most active in the Yahoo chat, but I wonder if that, that chat not being as lively um, takes away from some of the enjoyment. Dave is on Discord, for example. My captain is too, for that matter, but we
They
don't
don't
they don't
use it,
go on
check it.
to it. So I don't know what the solution is, but I would love a central place for everyone to be able to chat.
Probably
And
WhatsApp.
yeah, and I feel like we've floated that a couple
Did we?
years ago and it just never happened. But here's what I can say. I know you're on it. I know Rick's on it, who's someone that's not on Discord.
True.
Pete's on it. Uh, I'm assuming Colin's on it. I'm not sure. I don't know, but yeah,
Uh,
I think WhatsApp in my mind might be the best solution. But weigh in, people. Let me know, what app do you use to communicate with people, because I would love one where we're all on it and we're all active in the conversation, and where we don't have to jump back and forth, right? So
hmm.
this okay, so the commissioner no vote. This has actually been something that I've just done. So I guess there's no need to actually vote on it or whatever the case is. Um, my thought when I originally proposed this is that I wouldn't be the commissioner, so we should put this in writing for the new commissioner, whoever that might be. But because we have an even number of teams, to create an odd number so that there's no tie in the voting, if it's a yes or no style vote, or there's only two options in the vote, the commissioner just doesn't vote. That way, you can't have a tie.
But we like tie.
We can't have a tie in votes, I guess. That's not even, there's no way I'm going to say this that doesn't make you make that joke.
Nope. You have to spell it out for me, Jer.
mhm. There's no way that we could have a draw. There you go.
Oh.
Unless it's a case where there's, three or more options, and then in that scenario, there could potentially be a draw, and the commissioner would act as the vote
What
that
about if it needs to
where it's
pass instead of like if it's a draw, then like the champion's advantaged thing in wrestling. Like if it's a draw, then it doesn't pass because it needs to have a threshold.
yeah.
I think that's a better idea rather than having no vote for the commissioner, but then like the ultimate tie break goes to the commissioner. Well, and then
No.
it has to hit that threshold of it means being we need active users and people paying attention, but
Yeah.
I think that's most fair.
So the commissioner gets a vote, but if there is
No, he still doesn't get a vote. He doesn't
okay.
get a vote at all in this scenario. The deciding factor is enough people vote with this or against it or whatever.
Mhm.
That's what decides it. If it's a tie, sorry, it's not enough.
Then why would the commissioner not be voting in that case?
It's because it's a complete conflict of interest. So he just stays out of it entirely. It's for the other owners to decide. And I
Okay.
guess you are an owner, but you also
Yeah.
have this ridiculous authority in your hands.
I don't
So
want
it would
it
be
though.
well. This is me. This is me getting it out of your hands. You
No,
don't
but
have a say, so it's
Okay.
just it has to meet that threshold.
Okay. So full transparency why I don't like that, and this is obviously only a me thing.
Awful. Podcast is over. Goodbye.
One of the reasons that, okay, let me preface this by saying I actually don't hate that idea, to be frank. I think it's actually a fair idea.
It's a great idea. It's gonna go to Congress. They're
Yeah.
gonna pass it.
Yeah, I kind of expect that it would pass. Yes. Trump impersonation or not. Part of the reason I don't want to be commissioner anymore, frankly, is because I want to have a say in these votes.
Oh,
It's
well,
part of it. It's not the only reason, but it's part of it, right? I have a vested interest in the league and making sure it, doesn't fail, I guess, is I don't think it'll fail, but that it's active and all that kind of stuff. And that's part of the reason we're doing this podcast too, right? But I don't get to vote on anything, and that sucks for me because I too want to see the league change in certain ways, but like I've said in the past, I'm just here to press the buttons, whatever
I don't mean sorry. I don't mean for like the league, like the rules. I mean for like the trades and stuff.
I'm not talking about trades.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Talking about different things.
talking about
You say
voting on
vote. I thought you meant vote for trades.
no, that's actually something else that I don't think I
Oh, then
put
you
on
should just
here.
have a vote. Then why are you trying to get this vote out of your hands?
I don't have it in my hands. I'm purposefully taking it out of my hands because we have an even number of teams, and it would be too easy to have a tie, a draw in voting with an even number of votes, right?
Well, that's what I mean. The threshold makes more sense then because it's
I
not in your hands.
right,
It's just what the majority wants.
right. I think that's a better way to handle it. Absolutely, yeah.
But you just
Okay.
said you just prefaced this by like you didn't hate it. So you agree with me it's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea because I don't think we fully understood each other there.
Very good.
Yeah. So I'm going to change this proposal to: Commissioner has vote. Any ties in voting, and then the commissioner has the right to vote voting. You see how it's spelt. So
Okay, I
there's
see where we miscommunicated. Yeah, because I said you shouldn't get a vote,
Mhm.
but you just get a vote, and then the majority.
Would result in a motion not passing. There we go. I think that makes sense.
Agreed.
Okay. Now,
Glad we sorted that out.
yeah. Hopefully everybody else agrees with us. Or they half of them agree with us and it passes anyways. Or it doesn't pass. Shit. Never mind. That joke doesn't work.
Not anymore.
Okay. Ty has a couple proposals. Let's start with the structure proposal.
I thought we just tried to eliminate ties.
TIES, not TYs. But this is the structure of the rosters. This is it. Okay. So essentially, what Ty would like to see is we take out one of the D slots, which we talked about before,
Mm-hmm.
add 2 utility slots,
Mm-hmm.
add 2 bench slots, so that would be
Whoa,
4
big teams.
bench slots, change from 3 IR slots down to 2,
I
drop
don't like that.
the not available slot, and then keep the 2 IR plus slots.
So we would only have 2 IR plus slots total.
We already have 2 IR plus slots.
Right.
We have 2 IR plus and 3 IR.
So that would just give us
2. It
2
would drop
IRs,
us.
2 IR plus.
Yeah,
We
right.
could just have 4
And
IR
drop
pluses.
the NA slot. So that would take us from 6 to 4.
Okay, read the
essentially.
logic and then I'll ask my question.
Okay. Slightly bigger roster. These are Ty's words.
Yeah,
In case that wasn't clear. Slightly
AI
big.
generated, that's what you're getting at. It was he's using Claude right now, so this is Claude.
Okay. Slightly bigger roster for more scoring and more fun. We get more players to cheer for each night without overwhelming anyone.
I'm
Still
already overwhelmed.
still easy to manage weekly. No positional, scarcity disasters. 3 center, 3 left wing, 3 right wing, 4 D is balanced and avoids the I can't find a right winger problem. I don't know that I agree with that, but anyways, 3 utility slots allows for flexibility as managers can play their best players without worrying about rigid positions. I think he means like rigid.
Yeah, because like there's
position
sometimes
rules.
where like you've got to make space for you've got a lot of centers, say.
Mm-hmm.
This lets you not have to put one on the bench. Like your best players get to play.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
2 goalies allows for sanity. Anything more creates chaos and scare. Well, we already have 2 goalies, so and then 4 bench
I'm
spots.
surprised he said that.
4
bench spots. How many do we have now? Sorry.
2. 4 bench slots allows for some strategy without hoarding. It is enough to cover injuries and trades, but not enough to stash half the league. So that's the logic there.
Yeah, it's something I'd have to sit with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Like, I think we should just. I don't understand the difference of the IR slots. Why don't we just have 4 IR plus slots? I think it's silly to be punished in any way to have a person injured.
Okay, so if you have a guy that's day to day, he can be in the IR plus, but he can't be in the IR.
Right.
The guy, if there's a guy that has an NA designation, he can't be in an IR plus or an
And typically
IR.
those are guys that are suspended or go down to the minors, right?
Usually, yeah.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other situation where they're NA. Leave of absence, but
It's very rare.
so what's the benefit of having designated these are IR plus? Different IR packages for players, basically. What's the benefit of having them split? We can only have 2 IR plus slots? That's a limitation of Yahoo?
Oh, no.
That's what I'm asking.
No. But
I understand there's different types of
yeah,
injury absence or whatever, but like why do we have it separated as like you can only have 2 IR plus slots and 2 regular IR slots? I don't see a benefit to it. Why can't we just have 4 IR plus slots? That's what the question I'm proposing.
Because
I don't see a net benefit of having 2 regular ones and just 2 really, really good ones.
Because it's based on how Yahoo puts the status on the players. Hold on, I'll get the
I understand the out designation,
right.
but as I heard that, regardless of what status you were in, you all qualify for an IR plus slot.
This is from Reddit, so take that with a grain of salt, but Reddit seems to agree with you. Most modern fantasy leagues prefer IR plus slots over standard IR slots. This flexibility prevents you from being forced to drop valuable players just because a real-life team is slow to officially place them on the injured list. I'm just pulling up Yahoo's actual determine eligibility in hockey. Okay. Not active. Yeah, okay, we know that. Minor leaguers. Injured reserve. Used for players that are on the NHL's injured reserve list. Injured reserve plus is used for IR, day-to-day, or out designations.
So all
So,
three.
I guess I am mistaken here. I don't think I think you can
Just get
add
rid of the IRs and have up 4 IR plus.
Yeah, I think that actually could work. It looks like it could work. Yeah. I am mistaken. I thought that once they were listed on the NHL's injured reserve list, they couldn't be on the IR plus slot, but it seems like I am mistaken. To go back to your question, I guess there's no reason we couldn't just do IR plus slots.
Cool.
I'm glad we sorted that out too.
Sorted that out. Riveting podcasting right there. Let's look up the rules while people listen in. It's a frequent segment on our show.
Anyways, with that all said,
We need a counter for the amount of times we have to like look up stuff.
That is Ty's proposal for the structure of the rosters.
So I think part of it is having a deeper roster to accommodate for injuries, and he doesn't like being locked into specific positions because it creates a scarcity.
And I think...
But I like the scarcity to some degree because the idea is to balance a team based on positions.
Yeah. I think there's also a factor of if the rosters are a little bit bigger, there's probably going to be more trades because there's going to be a little less out there on the free agent market, right?
True. You would be forced into, well, not forced into. Yeah.
Anyways, that he also has a scoring proposal. So, skaters change power play goals from 0 to 0.5 from 1. Change power play assist to 0.25 from 0.5.
At that point, we should probably just merge the PPGs and PPAs to PPP. Because if they're worth the same, and I like this idea of kind of flattening the power play advantage, I think, maybe I need to give it some more thought, but at that point, it doesn't make sense to have two separate categories that are worth the same. Does that make sense?
The other thing I'm not 100% sure about is if we can I can't edit any settings right now when it comes to scoring because of where it's at in the season. So I can't look right now, but I think, or can I?
You should be able to look on past seasons, though.
I can look at what we have for scoring. I can't look at if there's an option to just make it power play points as opposed to power play.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very confident there is.
Okay. I will take your word for it, especially after the IR plus thing. Anyways.
Well, it took us 20 minutes, but we figured it out.
Change shorthanded assist to 0.5 from 1, block to 0.25 from 0.2, add a shot on goal stat category at 0.2, add takeaways at 0.25, face-off wins at 0.05, add game-winning goals at 0.025, and add an overtime goal at 0.5, as well as remove penalty minutes. And then for goalies, change a win from 2 to 1.2, change a save to 0.7 from
Let's go back and talk about the skater things first, because I'm already forgetting stuff.
Okay. I mean, the skater thing is because
there's a lot I like here. I like the idea of adding face-off wins to give centers a little boost.
Yep.
And I like shots on goals okay. I like the idea of takeaways, like rewarding defensive hockey. I like that.
I don't care for the shots
game-winning goals. I don't care for shots on goal either.
Mhm.
Um,
And game-winning goals, I don't care for either. I'm with you there. We had
we
that
used to have
before
them, and we dropped them for some reason.
because it was just adding more points to players that were already scoring points. It
Which
was
I don't mind that because it sets up like superstar players in like a superstar tier,
right.
right? And makes them more valuable to have and to keep.
Okay.
I forget why we got. I guess that's the reason we got rid of them.
Yeah, that was
But I
it.
don't mind I don't mind like a small bonus like that. I think before it was like a ridiculous one.
It was probably the
Although like
case.
it's not just basically somebody's gonna get this every game.
Someone has to get it because someone has to win
Yeah,
the game, right? In theory, I guess
yeah.
they could tie. No, wait, the NHL doesn't do ties. Um, Overtime goal at .5 was the other one, which, uh, yeah, I guess so. That's fair. I don't know how I feel about that right now.
Did he
Um,
add? He didn't say add hits,
he didn't.
which is surprising because that's like the main thing to add, and then
I,
remove penalty minutes. Yeah,
I am 120, no, 200% with that. I hate penalty minutes as a positive stat in any sports because it's getting a penalty doesn't help your team. I don't understand why we reward it, but I'll move on from that because I've said that before. Some of the logic here, small point values allow for tight matchups. No single stat blows up a week. Scores stay close from Monday to Sunday. Okay. Um, every player archetype matters. Shooters, hitters, defensive D, face-off guys. Everyone contributes.
I love that because that lets you build like a strategy around a certain player type.
Hmm. Yeah, it does absolutely. Face-off wins add strategy without complexity. Centers become more meaningful but not overpowered. And can swing a close matchup with a few points, or I guess with a few face-off wins in that specific instance. Um, yeah, I for the most part, like this is well thought out for sure. I would
Good job,
say.
Claude. Ty. Sorry.
I would say we don't need shots on goal, and for the rest, I would be fine with it, I think. And of course, I am very
I'm not
for.
totally opposed to adding shots on goal. It's not high up on my list to add. But like he said, the idea of building out different archetypes to build a team around,
Hmm.
it's very appealing. And it adds like, I don't know, because like to some degree, we're trying to mimic what it takes to build a team that would win in real life,
Hmm.
as in our fantasy hockey team. So it makes sense to try and emulate that. Like face-off wins are important, hits are important, all those things
Absolutely.
contribute. So
Yeah, no, definitely. Moving on to the goalie part. So you change a win from to 1.2 from 2 points. Change a save to 0.7 from 0.1.
whoa,
Change
interesting.
goals against to negative zero point 0.5 from negative zero point 0.8 or negative zero point 0.7, like we talked about earlier. And then change a shutout to 1.5 from 2. And this is one that I don't think we can do, but he said add loss at minus zero point 0.6. Oh, yeah, we can do that, but add save percentage. This is the one that we can't do. So the loss is if the goalie loses, they get minus zero point 0.6. I'm actually not sure we can add that either, but anyways, but save percentage. So you get 10 points per 1.100 of a percent. I think he means
I think that
per
means 1,000
100%. Yeah.
per 1,000.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're
Because
100%. You're right.
yeah. So zero point 0.9, you would get 9 points,
Yeah,
0.915. Yeah. This I don't think can be done. Like I don't even think Fantrax can do that.
it would
I'm not
make
sure.
goalies huge.
Hmm. That would be a lot of points added on.
You'd have to have like
This,
which
and it can't be a save percentage on a nightly basis, can it? Like I guess it
I'm sure they
can,
can do
but
it. Yeah,
then you're doing
you play
eight
twice, your
eight to
goalie's gonna
nine
have like
points a night they're gonna get.
a minimum,
Yeah.
and it would it would be relative to what the other goalies are doing, but the
Mhm.
emphasis on the goaltending position would be.
It would take them from being underpowered to being way overpowered, I think.
Without looking at any numbers, that's my inclination.
Yeah, right, of course, without looking at any numbers, of course. The rest of it,
But I love these ideas.
mhm,
They're very creative. The change from wins to adding increasing saves is interesting to me because it heavily rewards good goalies on bad teams.
mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely, which is definitely something that interests me.
I'd love to
Oh,
see the numbers on that.
yeah. So anyways, to go to the logic, it says for goalies, he's been using save percentages and saves together as it rewards good goalies, good performances, consistency without and doesn't destroy a week with random blowouts or shutout deciding a week. I guess a shutout kind of does
It can, but they're rare enough to warrant
that it should, yeah.
yeah, I think a shutout 1.5 points. He wants 1.5 points for a shootout.
Mhm.
We're giving half a point for a power play goal. So is a shutout worth 3 power play goals? No, it's worth way more than that.
I think so,
A
yeah.
goalie gets like a handful of shutouts a year if he has a good year.
Hmm.
So it's frustrating that it can decide the week, but if
But it should be able to decide a week because of its rarity, right? Or it should make a significant dent in the week
it should
because
make
of
it
its rarity.
should,
Yeah, it should.
but do you like if you get 2 shutouts in a week and that like kind of puts you over the top.
Hmm.
I mean, but it's only an extra 2 points, right?
Shutouts are 2 points, yeah.
I don't know. Like if you're player of the week, it was very rare that a goalie was player of the week.
Hmm.
I guess is what I'm trying to say.
That's true. I think Swayman was
Even with
like,
a shutout,
yeah,
right?
Swayman and then the two Colorado goalies are the ones that come to mind. And then the Islanders goalie as well. Without like going back and looking, those are the names I can think of that popped up as like goalies of the week. Anyways, there's also a keeper proposal from Ty. So this one's a little easier. Should be 5 keepers per team. His logic is this rewards smart drafting, prevents long-term hoarding, and encourages trading and keeps the draft exciting.
Realistically, like he talked to me about this before,
Hmm.
and he's like, "What do you think of fewer keepers?" And it's less appealing to me because I want to build a team.
Yeah.
If he's everything he says about it rewards smart drafting, prevents long-term hoarding, and encourages trading and keeps the draft exciting, those are all true. But I want to build a team
Hmm.
long term. That's my goal.
Hmm.
I don't want to have to draft smart every year. I want to build a core and then build a team around that core.
Hmm.
That's just how the kind of league I want to be in, which is why I want more keepers, not fewer.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there.
Like part of like the fun thing about this league is like it's a keeper league. We've been doing it for so long, and like if you want a McDavid, well, not maybe McDavid's a bad example. If you want a big player, you've got to make a big trade,
Hmm. Yeah.
which people don't like.
Yeah. Contracts. Well, it's just a shot at my McDavid trade again. I'm moving on.
It wasn't a shot at your McDavid trade, but I could see that. I was trying to make all of the big trades. Moving on.
Yeah, contracts. So this is the one that we kind of started talking about before. It can only happen in Fantrax because, to be frank, we could manually do it
No, we're not
outside of
doing more stuff
Fantrax,
manually.
but I'm just not in. I'm not
No,
going to do it. I'm
it's
sorry.
not fair to put that on the interim GM.
That's right. So the idea here,
Commissioner, sorry.
right? So we move away from keepers and we adopt contracts. So, and the reason I put this as just an idea as opposed to a full proposal is because I haven't given numbers here, right? But each team gets X amount of contracts each year to hand out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the worse you do, the more contracts you would get the next season.
Oh, it's tied to your how performance based?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
don't like that at all.
Once a contract, well, it doesn't have to be, but I don't see how you could like I guess you
The
could.
winner of the league should get like a bonus contract. That's right. I said the winner of the league should get an extra contract.
By that,
Incentivize winning. Make winning matter.
okay, by that theory, though. Anyways, let's get through this instead of getting through that. So once a contract expires, that player would be dropped into the draft pool because obviously that would happen in the off season, right? Or you can use one of your new contracts that you get during the off season period to re-sign, keep them. So then you could have basically contracts would be for 1, 2, or 3 years. If a player has a 3-year contract and you drop him to waivers in, I don't know, year 2, for example, his contract would be voided. So you're just losing that contract essentially.
So you lose that contract. Oh, that's really
And then,
punitive.
yeah. So if you decide to
If
throw
you have a bad contract,
yeah. So if you
you got
decide
to
to
stick
throw
through that sophomore slump.
exactly, or try to trade it.
Can you trade other teams for contracts?
Yeah, of course. Of course, that would be part of it. You'd have to make that part of it.
No, like not trade other team, like their players with the contracts. But like
No,
if
no,
I have like
you
I want like trade, I
you
want
want
like
to
I'll give you a player, you give me a contract, so I can
yeah,
have 8 contracts for the next year.
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. That. I like that for the idea of like if you're trying to rebuild a team, but
Yes,
you're in
that
win now mode,
yeah.
I can send you. I need a contract. I'll send you McDavid.
hmm
Give me a 1-year contract back because that seems like a good deal.
hmm Right. It adds to the push to encourage trading.
But you could actually
And
like build a team
yeah, you
that
could.
way. I like
Yeah.
I like that idea.
hmm
I like
And
the idea of
then
it.
so um I would say for example, if we wanted to do this, we could say for year 1, each team would get 7 contracts because we already have 7 keepers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we could talk about the more specifics about like the framework as to how that would kind of work out. But the idea here is to move away from keepers, right?
Yeah,
And
but
to
still building a team.
that you're going to, yeah, keep members of that team. And this was one I didn't write it there, but this is definitely one of Ty's proposals. I should give him credit for this. As I don't want this to come across as this is my idea because it's not. I friggin' love the idea, but it is his idea. I didn't write Ty's contract
Brought to you
proposal.
by Claude.
But essentially, yeah, let's say you finish 7th in the league and we decided that would give you 5 contracts, right? And then you do a couple 3 years, a couple 2 years, a couple 1 year kind of contract. Like you would come up with I don't have the answer in front of me right now, but you'd
Right.
come
We'd
up,
have to ask AI to figure it out for us.
yeah, probably. But essentially you'd come up with a set of rules as to how these contracts would be doled out and what their length would be. Maybe the solution here would be you get 7 contracts every year.
But then you can just
But
re-up guys.
yeah, right. But so you're guaranteed to keep 7, of course, unless you trade a contract or whatever. But the difference is how many years those contracts are based on how you do in the standings or something like that. Um,
There's got to be a thing for like if you have a guy on a 7-year contract,
yeah.
okay, and you have him all 7 years.
hmm
When that contract expires, does that guarantee you a 7-year contract back?
No, I
You know what I
wouldn't.
mean? Like it's tied to, well, I had this guy, I used up my 7-year contract.
Yeah.
Now it's gone.
Yep.
Provided I haven't traded for another one.
Right.
That should come back, right? That should free up a 7-year contract slot theoretically.
It-
because you had that person for 7 years. It's gone.
Potentially,
You know what I mean?
yeah, you could work in something like that. I absolutely understand where you're coming from. I don't have a yes or no answer because this is an idea, less of a proposal, more of an idea.
Yeah,
But
it's to be fleshed out, but it's fun.
mhm. But it would essentially, the idea here is to turn it from just you get to choose 7, 8, whatever keepers to you kind of have a fluctuating amount of keepers you could have.
Theoretically, yeah.
Theoretically, yeah. Yeah. Um, this is an example why I think this is important, because I think this would be one of those rules where we could start having a nice conversation and start getting the ideas out and see how this would work in everyone's mind, and then come up with something if people like this idea. But if you, me, Ty, and Paul and Pete are just talking about this on Discord, and Marcel and Rick aren't involved in the conversation, that's not fair either, right? So,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
yeah.
understand what you're saying.
Mhm. All right, let's get to the next one. Trade vetoes. This is the one that we need to 120% nip in the butt, put to the end of it. So I'm going to tell you, just this is what I think.
Can I give you mine? It's very quick.
Okay, go.
No vetoes.
Yeah, that's mine in a
Okay,
nutshell.
good.
Everyone values players differently. During the course of the year, I hear lots of opinions. And of course, I always love chatting about fantasy hockey. Um, but I don't know how we can ever put a mechanism into place that says it is obviously an unfair trade and has to be stopped. One person's fair trade is another person, or sorry, one person's unfair trade is another person's great deal. And I think because of that, we have to just be adults and agree that a trade is made in good faith. We move on, even if we don't agree. Like, too bad, no more vetoes.
100%. This is fantasy hockey.
Yeah,
There's more things to be concerned about. And it's just like you said, uh, player value, draft pick value is so subjective.
it is.
People expected Tyler to win this year. He didn't even make the finals. Did he make the finals? No, because it was Garrett and Paul,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he didn't even make the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's all relative, and if you can swindle something, not swindle, but if you can get like a good deal for yourself, that's part of the game. That's part of being the GM, and you don't need someone not involved in the deal to start crying about it because, well, they could have offered him more. Too bad you didn't. You know. So it's not an auction. So no vetoes. That's my take.
Yep. Obviously, I agree, and I hope everyone else does too when we vote on it.
At least the majority.
Yeah. Um, this one, I will admit 100% that this could be a me only thing, but something I really don't like is unbalanced schedules. I don't like the idea that, let's say we have 12 available weeks, right? To schedule regular season games. Now, you would be able to play every team once. That would be 11 weeks because you're the 12th team, right? And then you would have one other week in the schedule where you're just playing a random team that Yahoo assigns to you. In fact, Garrett had a question about that this year, and the answer was it's just the way Yahoo randomly generates these extra weeks that we have.
Hmm.
I I don't think it's fair, especially if um let's not use us as examples. Let's say historically Paul's won the most championships. Historically, Paul has been very good at fantasy hockey.
Undeniable.
And Pete, I'm sorry you didn't have a good year this year, so um we're gonna pick on you a little bit, but so let's say we're in that scenario where that extra 1 week of play during the regular season Pete faces off against, I'll say me. That's an unfair advantage for me because Pete's team was not as good this year, so I had a better chance to win. Whereas maybe you're in, who was it? It was Dave and Garrett that were fighting for that last playoff spot. And Garrett gets Paul, and Dave gets captain's team from this year. Well, that's unfair to Garrett that um, he's drawing one of the best teams in the league in a week when he really needs to have a competitive week, whereas his competition is playing a lesser team, right? So the idea is play every team the same amount of times in an ideal world. But that's not going to work. We don't have enough weeks for that to work. Are you with me? Because I feel like you're not with me.
You're saying there's too many. You want a balanced schedule
Mhm.
because you don't like how it's randomized for
For the extra
the extra week.
weeks. Yeah. So
I
what
mean,
I'm
it's okay. Go ahead.
so what
I'm
I'm
with you. I
propo-
hear what you're saying.
what I'm proposing here is um we use the 24th week of the season. Historically, we haven't used the last week of the NHL regular season
How
because
come?
there was this theory that teams that were already in a playoff spot would rest their players.
Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, that sure, there's an example, and I think there's a lot less of it. I think there's um, more uncertainty with where teams are in their playoff spots, and they're fighting for wherever they are in the playoff spot if they want to get out of a wild card spot and into a divisional
Yeah,
spot, for
because of
example.
how close everything is all
Mm.
the time. Because the
Right.
parity,
Right.
it's more off. I'm guessing here. It's probably more often that teams are fighting to get in than. Although probably there's a good number of teams that are just in their spot and they want to rest up and then yeah, I don't know. I always go back and forth on this, even right now. Like
Well,
it's hard to kind of I see it from both sides. I didn't want to quit early when we instituted this rule,
right.
um, but I see the value in it.
Hmm.
I think, but we'd have to like I don't know. It's so hard to predict, you know.
Right. It's impossible to predict.
So it's
Absolutely.
just
But I definitely think that at least since we've moved to this kind of playoff um, format, which I know you don't like, but
our playoff or the NHL one.
the NHL one.
Yeah, yeah, I don't like it.
But
Newsflash.
since the NHL has moved to that format, I feel like teams are there are less of that resting players kind of scenario.
Yeah.
That's my take on it, and that's part of what I'm basing this on. So this would give us the opportunity to push the playoffs out by a week, giving us another game another round in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
So what we would do is we would base our schedule on the previous year's standings. Okay. And each team would play off against each other once, right? So that's 11 games, right? With the 12 teams, you play everybody once, it's 11 games. And then you would basically divide the league in half. So you don't have static divisions like we used to do in the past, where we would play teams from within our division a second time. It's just based on the previous year's standing. So anyone that ended in the top six would play each other two more times. So if we look at this past season's standings, crap, sorry, I'm pulling it up here. I would, uh, Marcel, myself, Rick, Ty, Garrett, and Paul, in the end, we would play each other three times. But then I would play off against Colin, you, Dave, Dan, Captain, and Pete once. So basically, the lesser teams would play each other 3 times. The higher teams would play each other 3 times, but you'd at least get one game from every team.
So you play everyone once,
Mhm.
and then teams that ended in the top 6 the previous year play each other 2 more times,
Right.
and then the bottom. And this is at the end of the season.
No, the way I would structure it actually is you would play the first of these 2 games during the first 5 weeks of the season. Then you would play the round of games against every team, and then you would come back to this and play these these top 6 teams would play against each other the
From
third
the
time
current season or the last season?
from the last season. It would all be based on the previous
Yeah, I don't like
season
that part.
standing. Well, you can't switch it halfway through the season.
No, I understand. But
Right,
then like you're playing a team based on their ranking from last year when
right.
the rankings from this year are already firmly established. So the issue you're trying to solve is just created in a different way. It's still unbalanced.
It's not well, yeah,
It's not
okay. It is.
unbalanced in terms of games, but it's unbalanced in terms of like
It is unbalanced in terms of you are playing
strength of
other
schedule,
teams. Yeah.
the sauce metric.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right. It is unbalanced in that regard. But okay, I'm not like I realize I'm kind of putting you on the spot and I don't mean to, but like how else could we do it with because we can't switch the schedule halfway through the season, of course. The only other thing we could do is go back to nixing the last week and then playing everybody twice and just having a shorter regular
I
season.
I think that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do to make it the fairest way, everyone plays each other twice. And when they play
That
each other is kind of out of our hands. It's randomized, so it's like, well, if you're having a good year,
yeah, well,
so
yeah,
be it.
when it's that, but then you're actually playing even less games.
Could you extend the playoffs?
We could, but
So there you go.
so 2, 4,
The finals would be
6.
2 weeks. You could do 2 weeks for every round of the playoffs.
You have to. You don't get to choose if it's
Okay.
1 week or
I think
not.
the playoffs should be 2 weeks anyway.
So you do 2, 4, 6.
You know a rule we didn't talk about? And I'm amazed this didn't come up. Limiting to games played. So right now it's kind of because we don't have a limit per position or anything.
Mhm.
The games you play are the games you play.
Yeah.
So if you have like 20 more games in the schedule somehow than me, or like some ridiculous number,
Like,
um, there's this like a distinct imbalance there. Like
mm,
there's nothing I can do
mhm.
except hope my team plays their behinds off.
Yeah.
But you could limit the amount of games played each week, so you have to then pick your matchups, and then like the amount of games played is even every week. I'm surprised that has never come up.
Yeah,
I guess nobody likes that idea,
I don't love that idea to be
but
honest with you,
it's
but I
fundamentally an idea
understand.
that breaks each week.
I understand that. I do. I do. And I can't argue it because you're 100% correct in saying that.
Nobody likes it
Yeah.
because then you have to make conscious decisions for every position.
Yeah.
But well, nobody in our league anyway. I'm assuming nobody likes it because no one brought it up.
Right.
And it's only an idea I've kind of got behind the last few years because it sucks if you're in the playoffs and you've
Hmm.
only got 1 week. Oh, but
Yeah.
this person's got 10 more games than me.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I can't argue that. I get it. I don't like the idea, but I get why. And if there was a way to like just turn it on during the playoffs or something, that would be the happy medium to me. But yeah, that's not a
And that'd be
possibility.
interesting,
So
yeah. We got 2 more. Oh, you're adding to the list.
yeah, I'm just putting that there to because that should be something we talk about or whatever. So okay, draft order is the next one. So something I really realized it this year. And I think it was because Garrett barely made the playoffs, but whatever, he made it, and then he
But went to
made
the
a run
finals.
to the final, which is not to say anything other than that's exactly what happened, right? Good for him. I'm not trying to say anything negative there, is what I'm saying. It's just a fact. So in the past, what I did is when Yahoo does the whole thing where it goes, um, it shuts down hockey during the summer for a bit. They do maintenance to the site and then it comes back. And then we renew and then we start looking at putting in the order of the draft picks and all that kind of stuff. In the past, I would go to the league screen, which I'm going to pull up right here. This is what it's going to look like. And it's going to tell me that Garrett came in second
Yeah.
because of how he finished in the playoffs. It's going to tell me that you came in eighth, even though you did not come in eighth in the regular season standings, right?
Right.
And Garrett came in eighth. So, in the past, I would just take this page. We have our bottom four. We do our draft lottery for that. And we know how that order goes. And then I would go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, draft pick number 5, you, draft pick number 6, Colin, etc. Right?
Right.
Because of the thing that I noticed with how Garrett looks in the standings now, what I'm asking is, should we have this be the final order, or should it be the way that it shows up at the end of the regular season? Because in the NHL, the draft lottery is based on the regular season standings.
We're not the NHL.
We're not the NHL. I'm just saying that's what they do. So what one should we use? Because
I think we should use the final standings.
This is the difference between Garrett picking 5th or 11th in the next draft.
One Garrett is the same as all Garretts.
Okay, well,
but the idea is he finished second place.
Yes, I agree.
Right,
absolutely.
Like he got a silver trophy and finished the year.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally, our standings are. I get that we're not having a 7-game playoff each round either.
No, we're not. That's true.
Like this is how we finished the year. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
These are the standings we should use.
Okay.
In my opinion, and that's historically what we've done.
That's historically what we've done.
Yeah, I think that should keep that.
I don't feel strongly either way, to be honest with you, but that's something I thought we should actually address. So,
well, what's the argument for the other way?
You've had it's the Garrett argument is what I'm going to call it. He had a regular season where he barely snuck into the playoffs. He didn't have the hot regular season that some of us may have had. And he was expecting a much higher draft pick based on where he finished in the regular season standings. So he feels maybe, even though he went to the final round, maybe he feels ripped off that he's not getting the 5th pick and he's getting the 11th pick because his bigger body of work, as opposed to 3 playoff rounds, was not as good. So maybe he got a hot goalie or something.
That to help him because his overall season wasn't good, but he caught fire the last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
No, I still think you use the final one.
Yeah, again, I could go either way on this. I'm just answering the question. And we'll see what the league says on that one. But I just thought that's definitely something that we should bring forward. That's all. And then the last one, we have Pete's move trades is what I'm calling it.
We're going to have a rule named after Peter regarding trades. I want to pass this rule just for that.
So basically what he wants to do is propose that owners can trade an ad drop, like one of your moves for a draft pick or a player.
So he could trade his first round pick for 4 more ads and drops.
Yeah, that's the basic idea there. Yeah,
he's going to be stuck between what do I do? Do I want more moves, trades, or do I want more?
Besides for the Pete of it all, though, I don't think this is possible. No, it would be a manual thing. Yeah. So I guess I could do I would have to add so
As the
let's
assistant to the interim commissioner, I'm making a rule. There's no more manual stuff.
yeah, it would be manual in Yahoo. I don't even know if Fantrax could accommodate
I
at all,
kind
but
of like the idea. It's a creative idea.
it is definitely a creative idea, and I don't mind doing manual things as a general rule if
But
it's going to be
if
a
someone ever
significant
wants to, if
benefit.
someone ever wants to take this position from you, which you do such a great job, everyone is afraid to even try and fill those shoes. Like, it's got to be manageable for other people who do mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I'm hesitant to agree to it because of that is my stance on it. Not because it's a bad idea. I think it's
No,
a
it's a great idea.
fantastic idea.
Yeah, I
It's
love
just the manual of it all makes me hesitant to agree, especially because I don't want to, and I don't, Pete wouldn't do this. I'm not even going to say I don't think he would. He would not do this. But if Pete got, I don't know, 4 more ads like you suggested for a first round pick or whatever, and at, you know, 12:30 at night, one night decided he wanted to do an ad and messaged me while I'm asleep. And then, you know, by the time I got to that message at, I don't know, let's say 11 o'clock the next day because work was busy in the morning or whatever, somebody else had added that player. Like, I just don't want the hassle of being like, no,
it.
Pete
Mm-hmm.
actually messaged me at, 12:30 in the morning this morning, but sorry, because the manual part of it is less of the problem. The transparency and the I don't know, the fairness, I guess, of it is it's just too hard to do. But
Yep.
it is such a cool idea. If there was a way for it to not be manual, I would love it.
Agreed.
Anyways, we've been talking for a long time.
This has been a long episode.
Yeah.
I thought we were
I,
going to have a lot to talk about. Should have known better.
yeah, I guess so. Let's call it a night there. And we will talk to you all next time.
Night, everybody.
The Money Sauce Podcast with your host,